The Pacific Islander Diabetes Prevention Program, PIDPP, is a year-long evidence-based lifestyle change program recognized and supported by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. PIDPP was formed through a partnership between the Association of Asian Pacific Community Health Organizations and the Pacific Islander Center for Primary Care Excellence, as a project funded by the CDC DP17-1705 grant to scale the CDC national DPP in underserved areas. Currently, PIDPP consists of 11 sites throughout the U.S. and U.S.-affiliated Pacific Islands. Aligning with DPP success standards, participants aim for 5% body weight loss, 150 weekly physical activity minutes, and lower HbA1c values. Listen in each week as we highlight PIDPP sites. Mililani Leui, Program Manager of PIDPP, sits down with site representatives to hear about their community stories and program impacts. This week, we spoke with Fahina Tavakepasi of the National Tongan American Society, NTAS. NTAS is a nonprofit organization based in Utah in the United States that advocates for Tongan Americans and other Pacific Islanders. In this episode, Mililani and Fahina talk about community empowerment through diabetes education and the importance of family in one's health journey.
My name is Fahina Tavakepasi, and I'm the executive director here at the National Tongan American Society in Salt Lake City, Utah. We also have 3 other sites, one in Arizona, Texas, and Idaho. As far as the DPP, I also assist in the program coordinator and then also help out here and there with teaching the DIPP classes.
My name is Mililani, and I am the program manager for Pacific Islander Diabetes Prevention Program. Why is a program like this important for the community you serve?
I think first and foremost is that here in Utah, Pacific Islanders, we have one of the highest rates of obesity. We also have one of the highest rate of folks that have diabetes and other diseases. And so I think that's probably why it's really important, is to inform our folks of our high rates of diabetes and that how we need to take control and discipline ourselves as far as eating, control our eating, not to eat, too much carbs and sweets and sodas, because we are like heavy soda drinkers and sweet drink drinkers. And also just the importance of physical activity. And I think even more important is the fact that what we do as parents is going to be passed on to our children. They're going to see what we buy at the store, what we eat at home, how we cook our food and things like that. And so if what we are passing on to them is going to create or maintain the diabetes in the family and things like that, that's not good. So we need to inform them. And I think a lot of our people are not really fully aware of that they can make a difference. Sometimes they think, diabetes just comes whenever. But the fact that they can have control to delay it or even not to get it, I think is really important.
Why is it important to tailor the program to your community's specific needs?
Our community needs to know that the lessons that we're sharing with them is tailored to them specifically because first and foremost, we are taking into consideration what our eating habits are. What are the foods that we are eating? Rice and potatoes and mashed potatoes or what have you. Some of our families eat that, but most of our family, they'll eat like kumala and ufi and taro and things like that. And so we need to talk about food that are specific to our community, also about physical activity. The typical thing is to get out and, go for a walk or a run or go to the gym. Our people don't buy memberships at gyms and things like that. A lot of them can't afford it. So we have to tailor it and perhaps encourage them because there's like pickleball is really huge in our community right now. Maybe encourage them to go and play pickleball, take their kids out and go play pickleball or even just going to get up and dance. Because we have a lot of events in our community, whether it's through the church or some kind of organization or events that are coming up or family reunions, which is pretty frequent because there's so many different families. But when you go to the dances, just don't sit, get up and dance type stuff or get up and do things or help out or even just around the house. In our community, it's very common for us to tell the kids, go do this, go do that. And we'll just sitting there. And something very simple as walking to the fridge and getting a drink. We try to encourage them, get up yourself, walk over there, get your own drink. Don't pu'i. Pu'i is the term that we use in Tongan, to tell the kids to do this. So don't pu'i on your children. Get up and go do all the things that you are able to do.
Is there any background information you would like to share to reinforce the importance of this program for your community?
I guess maybe one of the things that's important for our folks here in Utah is that Utah is part of the top 3 or top 5 of the state that has one of the largest Pacific Islander population. And the majority of our population reside here in Salt Lake City, though we do have lots up north and lots down south, but the majority is in the Salt Lake City County. I would guess that maybe 70%. I think that's very important that we do have the capacity to reach a lot of our Pacific Islanders.
What impact has your site had on the communities you serve?
I know we have a lot of impact because a lot of people are making a difference and people have lost weight. But I think one of the stories that come to mind is when we were talking to one of the mothers about her habits of eating and how that's going to be transferred to her children, whatever her health habits are and whatever her diseases or illnesses are, that has a very high likelihood to go on to her children if she continues to eat the same way. Whatever she does, her child will follow, is basically what she did. And she just teared up. She started crying and she just said, I didn't really think about that, how I'm affecting my child. Her daughter, I think, was like maybe 7 years old or something like that. But she was sitting there and she was already chubby because she gives them whatever she wants. She was donuts and cookies and chips and soda and all that stuff. She really did not think the effect that would have on her child's life. And so I think the impact of this program in our community is very important, though we don't have everybody's stories. But I think the fact that they are getting healthier, we have lots more people playing pickleball. That seems to be the go-to thing, for a lot of our community because it's fun. They can socialize. They can play with their children. They can play with their friends, family. Pickleball courts out here in Utah, in Salt Lake, is packed almost every morning with a lot of Pacific Islanders playing pickleball. There's also some folks that we're working with that they provide step classes. So there's a lot of Pacific Islanders that are also into the step to promote trying to get healthier.
So what are some of your site's challenges and or best practices for recruitment, retention, and general programming?
I think some of the challenges are those that are finding it a little bit difficult, most especially those that are really obese, like super overweight. And those are the ones that we really want to help. They find it a little hard to get out. They can go play pickleball, but they can't because they're like 400, 500 pounds. The challenge is trying to get them to lose a little bit of weight so that they can begin to maybe enjoy some other activities and other things. So that's kind of like a real challenge. But one of the things that we are trying to do is we try to encourage their family members, whether it's their children or their parents or cousins or sisters, siblings, or what have you, is we try to encourage them to work with them, whether it's getting out and just walking with them, walk for a block or two or whatever and come back. And so far, and I think with our program, we have a pretty good retention. I think one of the reasons why we have some good retentions with some of our people is that if we have classes or talk about things like that, there'll be some church meetings during the weekday. And then we will schedule it to go right after, because oftentimes we will recruit people from different churches, from the different churches, and we'll hold things there. We will hold meetings right after so that way they don't have to take another time out of their week to drive down somewhere and stuff. And so that seems to help with the retention in the program.
What future projects and or goals does your site have for advancing diabetes prevention and promoting healthy lifestyles?
First, we want to try to get, more funding, identify funding. I think there's the possibility that through Medicare, Medicaid, that they might be able to pay the time for our lifestyle coaches to help prevent diabetes. And then, of course, the other thing I think that's really good is they get into the pickleball. There are tournaments. And I think once they get into that and they get pulled in, then it's like we don't really have to try very hard to keep, because they're having fun now. We've had 2 tournaments already. We have a couple coming up. We have one coming up this month. And the funny thing is that the same thing is kind of happening throughout, because people in California are coming up to play with us out here in this upcoming tournament. Everybody's crazy about in the Pacific Islander community. And so that seems to help everybody to keep them healthy as far as physical activity, and then of course the eating, we have to continue to remind them. And then the other thing is we also have a weekly radio show, every month or something. We'll have someone that continue to talk a little bit about the importance of maintaining healthy eating and healthy activity not only for self, but for the family as a whole.
We thank Fahina from the National Tongan American Society for speaking with us during this week's segment. Please stay tuned for our next site highlight.